Hi, this is Bibi, and we're going to look at the worksheet that you've just completed for detoxing your relationships. Now, I've asked you to write down a list of all the people you mostly spend time with, then to write down a plus and a minus if you have good, spending time with them. And then I've asked you to score them with a +5 up to a -5 if you feel good by spending time with them and leaving them. Now, let's look a little bit at your scores. My first question is, are there any surprises? These questions, I hope, will prompt you to write an action on the last column. So let's just go through it. Are there any surprises? First of all, we have a list. We've scored them. And now when we had a long, hard look about how we feel when we leave people, we ask ourselves, are there any surprises? My next question to you is, what are the scores for the people you spend most of your time with? Take a look. And now I'd like to ask you, are you generally spending more time with the pluses or with the minuses? You see where this is going? So are you spending more time with the plus people or the minus people? And now I'm asking you, how much time are you spending with the high scoring 4s and 5s on your list? On average, how much time do you spend? You may scribble at the back or in your notebook. What about the draining -4s and -5s? What is going on in that relationship? Now I'm asking you, what other patterns do you notice? This is a very, very powerful exercise. I would like you now to consider the plus relationships. How could you spend more time with them? Most probably in your action side, you could now write an action of how can you include and spend more time with the plus people. If you don't have any 4s and 5s on your list, who can you think of who could fill that slot from your list? How else could you find and develop 4 and 5 relationships? In other words, if you have, let's say, only 3s plus, what can you do to turn a 3 into a 4? Or a 4 into a 5? What can you do to spend more time with the people that you scored as a plus? Then let's consider the minus relationships. In theory, these are people to try and spend less time with. But any healthy relationship has rough patches. And it's not necessary for us to discard every single person on your list with a minus. You could take the better way and you could open a conversation with this person and ask if there's any wound between you two, or if there's any grievance between you two. And if you could discuss it in an open way, you can think about where are you personally, giving your power away. There's another thing to consider. We also outgrown people, and it's sometimes time to move on. And finally, for those minus relationships you still want or need, because some of them is, unfortunately, we can't walk away from them. How can you change how you spend time with that person so it still feels good by, by spending time with them, that you still feel good? So this is powerful. Listen nicely. Some of the minus relationships you still want, or you still need them, but they make you feel sick. The question is, how can you spend time with them that you still feel good by leaving them? As an example, if spending time with a specific person is leaving you empty, but you need this person in your life for some reason, maybe by including another party into that relationship will break the deadlock in that relationship, and you will feel better, or you will go and do perhaps an activity to make the time between you better. Lastly, consider your most important relationships. Do you need to shift things around in your life, in your time management, to spend more time with the people that makes you feel like you're in a fantastic, great place? This is a very powerful tool. It will help you to identify and become in a much more powerful position in your relationships. But I want you to remember, we can't change other people's behavior. We can only change our own. So how can we behave? Spend less time or spend time differently with people to boost our relationships. You see, how we feel when we're spending time with someone is extremely important for our mental well-being. Lastly, I want to just give you a warning, but it's also a positive warning. The more we work on ourselves, the more people will start reacting to us differently. And it's all part of our growth. We may need to make a decision whether we still want these people in our lives or not. You made a choice to grow. You made a choice to aspire to a higher way of living. And if the people in your life is no longer serving you, as hard as it may sound, it is time to move on.